All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. The final football. I mean, we're a football podcast all the time, but the final game or the final game of the season, I suppose, the final episode where we're going to be talking about the 2024 season. We are wrapping it up with the Super Bowl. We're going to get a nice long recap post-mortem of the football season, of the Super Bowl in general, all that sort of good stuff. At this point, you guys already know what happened. It was a bloodbath, absolute bloodbath. But I'm your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA, basically just Twitter. That link is down in the description. Shoot me a DM, follow me, all that sort of stuff. Maybe not necessarily in that order, but get it while it's hot. Get it while it's hot, folks. Outside of that, let's just crack right into this thing, man. I'm back in the habit of working out, so late recording time. That is to say, it is a late recording time on this. So, with all of that said, let's just pop this bad boy right open, shall we? Starting off with the Super Bowl here, and not a whole lot of drama to this one. Eagles jumped out early. They grabbed the Chiefs by the throat, and they did not let go. They just kept on ringing until they kind of let off the gas there in the fourth quarter when they were up 5 touchdowns. Ultimately, the Eagles win 40-22, and that is with Saquon Barkley getting under 60 yards and not a single touchdown. I lost a good deal of money on this game, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I bet the beer money and I didn't bet the rent money, and as a result, hey, I can live with that. That's gambling, baby. That's gambling. So there you go. There's your little lesson of the day on that one. But I mean, as far as this game goes, this game was won in a couple different areas, but most prominently, the Eagles' defensive line, as I was kind of getting the feeling toward as I was looking at this game last week, absolutely dominated the Chiefs' offensive line. You could see the absence of Joe Thuney on the interior right away. And on the outside, Josh Sweat had the game of his life. It didn't matter who was playing tackle, guard, center, none of it mattered. The Eagles were just taking the Chiefs' lunch money all day. They got Patrick Mahomes on 6 sacks, which shockingly enough is a career high for Patrick Mahomes in, I believe, 8 years in the NFL at this point. Insane shit, just completely insane shit. But yeah, that speaks to how good the Eagles pass rush was. Basically everyone on the front seven, I mean, they had the games of their lives. I mean, you had Zach Bond get himself an interception. He's probably going to make a ton of money. Josh Sweat obviously heading into free agency. He's set for a huge payday, which we'll talk about that here in just a second when we do the post-mortem on this thing. Hey, Bryce Huff was supposed to be the big-time free agent acquisition rushing the passer. He didn't even see the field in this one. They had Jalix Hunt coming in there and playing damn good football. He's playing on first downs, like a legit starting level player, the way that Vic Fangio saw him. And they just, smothered the daylights out of him. And especially with how good the Eagles secondary is, with the front seven winning like they were, the Chiefs never really had a chance in this one. And I mean, you saw it with the turnovers in the first half. Obviously, Cooper DeJean, on his birthday, Saquon Barkley got all the headlines for his birthday being on Super Bowl Sunday. Cooper DeJean less so on the headlines. He's the one that capitalized, though. He got his first career interception, took it to the house for a pick six in the Super Bowl. The Boza household was losing their minds. I can only imagine. I don't even need a live camera to know that that gaggle of white boys was having themselves a time watching Cooper DeJean bring that all the way back. It was a banner day for white boys in the secondary. I will tell you what on that. But yeah, I mean, between him, Zach Bond, DeAndre Hopkins dropping one late in the first half. Sure, the throw is a little bit behind him by Patrick Mahomes, but DeAndre Hopkins, if he didn't trip over his own feet, he makes that catch 10 times out of 10. He just got discombobulated. Wide open, probably could have gone for a big gain if he'd have kept his feet and caught the ball, but it's just not to be on that one. But still, I mean, Eagles end up winning this thing 40-22, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't even that close. The Chiefs got 16 garbage time points in the fourth quarter. This thing was 34-6 entering the fourth. There was never at any point of doubt. 24-0 at halftime for the Eagles. The only reason there was any hope for the Kansas City Chiefs is because their quarterback is, the greatest quarterback in the league. Don't listen to the Patriots fan in your life telling you that Patrick Mahomes is washed, that they're never going to be as good as the Patriots. Just let's chill out on that here. We'll talk about the Chiefs here in just a second, but Patrick Mahomes is 29, guys. He's probably got another 10 years plus left on the runway here, and with the way he's able to see the game and the absolute nuclear, missile that he's got attached to his arm there, his shoulder. He's going to be in the league for probably another 10 to 12 years, maybe even pushing Brady stats by the time it's all said and done. But Brady's in kind of a class of his own as far as longevity is concerned. No need to worry if you're a Chiefs fan, and no need to listen to the Patriots fan in your life dooming the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have a vested interest in dooming the Kansas City Chiefs so that their boy can still be considered the greatest of all time. Many people will still consider him the greatest of all time. I don't think Patriots fans are ever letting go of that one. I think they're going to die on that hill. But at the same time here, all is not lost for Patrick Mahomes. I remember when Tom Brady was in his early mid-30s and they were saying maybe he's getting washed. You may remember Max Kellerman talking about the cliff for 7 straight years at some point, talking about how Tom Brady's going to fall off a cliff at some point, and he just never did. I would assume Patrick Mahomes is going to do something similar to that, although it's going to be through the post-Brady lens, so it's, not going to be fairly evaluated on that one. But all the credit in the world to the Eagles on this one. They just dominated this football game, and it's exactly what it on paper it should have looked like it was going to be coming into this thing. The Eagles were just better at all levels except quarterback. And when Jalen Hurts was throwing the darts that he was throwing, even on that first possession where they got the ticky-tack call from the refs on the offensive pass interference, he dropped an absolute dime in the breadbasket of A.J. Brown on that one. No question about it. He was slinging the pill all day, and also led the Eagles in rushing with 11 carries, 72 yards. Got that goal line touchdown to kick off the festivities for the Eagles in this game in the first quarter. Tough scene if you had Jahan Dotson first touchdown. But also, if you're betting Jahan Dotson first touchdown in the Super Bowl, maybe just call the hotline. Just throwing it out there. Maybe that one's on you for betting Jahan Dotson first touchdown. But I digress on that front. Eagles dominate. They get the win. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Nick Sirianni is a Super Bowl winning head coach. And Saquon Barkley, he wasn't the MVP of the Super Bowl because Jalen Hurts had the game that he had and Saquon Barkley had the game that he had. But, he set the all-time record for combined regular postseason yards for a running back. And that's legit, too, because he did not play the final week of the regular season. If I'm not mistaken, I think he might have missed a game in the regular season as well. Still went for 2,000 yards in the regular season. Dominated every single game in the postseason all the way up until the Super Bowl. And then just kind of didn't quite live up to his previous expectations in the Super Bowl, but all the credit in the world needs to go to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley didn't have a big game in this one, but he's the reason why they ultimately won this game, and it's because of the reasons why I laid out in the previous episode. The Chiefs clearly came into this game, Steve Spagnuolo, everyone on that side of the ball said, look, the Eagles, if they're going to beat us with the pass, we're going to live with that. We cannot let Saquon Barkley beat us. With that offensive line, if he gets going, we're not going to have a snowball's chance in hell. So the Chiefs loaded up the box. They kept it contained there, and Saquon Barkley didn't have himself a good game. Unfortunately, like I laid out in the previous episode, that meant that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were one-on-one on the outside on a consistent basis, which you saw taken advantage of beautifully in the second half with that long final touchdown from Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith. I was watching in my living room because I'm a sicko. I watched this entire game, and I said out loud when that play happened, dagger. It was probably... the dagger was probably in the first half, but Jalen Hurts double tapped him on that one. That was all she wrote at that point. I believe that was kind of mid-third quarter. Chiefs had a little bit of momentum because they scored a touchdown early with Xavier Worthy, I want to say. and or maybe it was DeAndre Hopkins. I think it might have been DeAndre Hopkins at that point. So just quelled any hopes that the Chiefs might have had of getting some momentum and pulling off and even a one-upsmanship of the 28-3 game by Tom Brady, who was calling this game. That did not happen. That was an absolute dagger to Devontae Smith, and that's all she wrote. Eagles earned this. They deserve to win this Super Bowl. I was cheering for the Eagles not because I thought the Chiefs I wasn't cheering for the Eagles for the regular reasons. Obviously, there was a little bit of, okay, I'm getting a little tired of seeing the Chiefs win year after year. But really, mainly, it was just like this Eagles team compared to this Chiefs team, the Eagles are just a better football team. And at the end of the day, I want the team that wins the championship to be the one that deserves it the most. And I just felt like with the trials and tribulations that this Eagles core has been through. I believe Lane Johnson, only holdover from that former Super Bowl team, and he was a young pup on that Super Bowl roster back in 2017, 2018. I believe it was, I think it was 2017 when that last Eagles Super Bowl happened. He was just a pup back then. I guess Brandon Graham was on that team as well. But everyone else, I mean, these are trials and tribulations that they had to go through, losing 2 years ago, falling apart down the stretch last year, and then pulling it together this year with the addition of Saquon Barkley, the addition of Vic Fangio, Kellen Moore, who's on the way out the door. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't officially sign that contract with the Saints today, but I'm sure he will tomorrow or today as you are listening to this. I would imagine that news is coming down the pipe imminently. That being said, they earned it. They earned a championship. I get it. The Chiefs have got Jordan. There's no way around that. The Chiefs have got Jordan, and Jordan is a thief of joy. He was that way in basketball. Now Patrick Mahomes is that way in football. But I love that the Eagles got this Super Bowl because they absolutely deserve this. They deserve this with what they've been through. This was probably the best shot that they were going to get after that 2023 year. Especially with everyone coming up for free agency. They simply don't have the cap space to sign them all back. They're going to have to go into the draft for, especially pass rush. I would imagine they're going to have to go in the draft for that to a certain extent. I'm just glad that they got this now because I don't know if another one's on the horizon imminently next year. I think the Chiefs are probably going to be right back in it, but Eagles got some figuring out to do on both sides of the ball here. They're not far off. They're still a playoff team, but it's going to be incumbent on the front office there, on everything really with the personnel department there with Howie Roseman and crew. They're going to have to pull off some more wizardry in the draft if they want to keep on having this championship window open because the big cap hits are coming for that Jalen Hurts contract. They're right around the corner at this point if they've not already found their way into the fray here. It's going to affect their ability to sign players, and I think you see that come to roost this offseason, but enjoy this. Enjoy this right now because this is the best feeling in the world, a feeling that I hope to feel one day. Eagles, after a long, long championship drought, they have got two within the last decade. They're on fire right now, man. It's a beautiful thing to see. Congratulations to you Philly scumbags. You earned this. Well, you didn't earn it. Your team absolutely earned it, though. So, hey, shouts out to you. Shouts out to you. By the way, Xavier Worthy, quietest state receptions, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns I've ever seen, I think. Because none of it mattered, pretty much. He didn't really make any big impacts until the second half. But the ceiling on that guy is high. I think you're seeing some stuff here from him in the postseason that you didn't see throughout the regular season. I think when Rashee Rice gets back, I think it's going to be a huge help for him. But I did a little bit of the post-mortem for the Eagles here in this one. The Eagles are probably going to have to backfill in the draft with especially pass rusher. I just don't know if they're going to be willing to pay the price that it's going to take to bring in or bring back, retain Josh Sweat when it's all said and done. Zach Bond, too, kind of an outside fringe defensive player of the year conversation there for him. We'll see. off-ball linebacker, so I think you can get him at a pretty solid price, but no guarantees on that one either. They'll probably resign at least one of those two players if I had to guess. Secondary, still great, young outside of C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Darius Slay, so that's huge. That's huge for him. And Quinion Mitchell is going to be he's going to be locked down number one corner in this league in no time. If he's not already there, he's going to be that in no time to take up the mantle for Darius Slay when ultimately he is either asked to step aside or steps aside willingly of his own accord. So, I mean, that's what you're looking at defensively. Offensively, I really don't have a whole lot of concerns at this point. I mean, they've shown the best ability in the league to backfill on the offensive line and prioritize the offensive line in a way that really only the Lions do in the league at this point. They're elite at that, and as long as that's in place, I mean, Devontae Smith still under contract, A.J. Brown still under contract, Jalen Hurts still under contract, Saquon Barkley still under contract. If they can figure out the pass rush, really just a front seven situation, I think they're going to be all right. But I think there will be some attrition on that front. So something to keep in mind. It looks like Lane Johnson's coming back for another year or two. So Eagles should be a playoff team next year. Hell, I mean, they're going to be right there neck and neck with the Commies. I still think the Commies are probably one more year after this one away from being a better overall team. That being said, I think they already have the better quarterback in Jaden Daniels. So that might trump everything. That's going to be a hell of a race next year between those two teams, and I'm looking forward to that. But pin on the Eagles, just figured I'd do the full post-mortem before I get into the Chiefs here. I'm never going to say that a loss is a good thing. A loss sucks, and it is antithetical to what you're trying to do as a football team on a week-in, week-out basis. Losing is never a good thing. However, a loss like this in the Super Bowl, it serves a couple of purposes. Obviously, gives you fuel going into the offseason. Ending the season like that, getting so tantalizingly close to the ultimate prize and then stumbling just short. For a lot of these young players, I mean, guys that were drafted in 2023, this is their first playoff loss. You have to remember, the Chiefs had won 2 straight Super Bowls. These guys have never, I mean, some of these guys in their third year have never lost a playoff game. It's just never happened in their entire career up until this point. So this is going to stick in their craw in a way that I think is going to galvanize them and make them better going into the offseason. So there is that I think will benefit the Chiefs. And then in addition to that, it pointed out just how glaring the holes on this roster are. And you saw this happen a couple times in the regular season over the course of the last couple years. It's hard to listen to that when you're 15-2, whatever they were last year, like 11-6, whatever they ended up being going into the postseason before they ripped off that Super Bowl run. It is one thing for it to happen in the regular season where there's no real consequences. It is another thing for it to happen in the biggest possible moment in a way that you just simply can't ignore. And what you can't ignore at this point is that the Chiefs have fundamental holes in their roster that are going to keep them from winning games against elite teams in the years to come. And that's what the Eagles were. That's what the Lions were all season. It's what I thought the Vikings were until Sam Darnold turned into a pumpkin in Week 18 in the first week of the playoffs. Elite teams are the ones that make the Super Bowl, generally speaking, barring something fluky. And then I would argue that if you lose on something fluky, how elite were you when the whole thing was said and done? But the Eagles were an elite team. Make no mistake about it. The Chiefs were not an elite team. They had an elite quarterback. They had an elite defensive lineman, an elite defensive line even. I'll go ahead and say that. Pretty good secondary. But the problem is, and it's been the problem over the last couple of years here, the receiving core is not up to snuff. And part of that is that Rashee Rice was out the entire year pretty much. Another part of that being that Hollywood Brown didn't come back until late in the season. You're probably not going to have him next year as well. He's probably going to command a pretty good price in free agency, I would imagine. That being said, I mean, Xavier Worthy looks like he was a hit, but Xavier Worthy alone, he is not a true X wide receiver, despite the first letter in his first name there. He is not a true X, go out there, just beast someone wide receiver. He's a guy that'll get you big plays. He is better as a second receiver or a first receiver with very complementary pieces like physical wide receivers to help him out, to clear up space for him on deep routes, like he has the ability to do with that speed. Travis Kelce's old. He's maybe got 1 year left. I don't think he walks off on this one, but he's on a 2-year deal. Next year would be the last year of that 2-year deal. I think he's gone. I think he's gone after next year pretty much regardless. So you got to backfill there. Running back wise, Isaiah Pacheco is okay. He's solid even, I would say. He's much better behind a really good offensive line, and he's not elite. He's good. He's okay to good, but he's not an elite running back, and he plays a style that will help you in the postseason. Don't get me wrong. He's a physical back. He runs his face into an absolute buzzsaw every single week. When you play like that, though, you get injured a whole lot, and you're seeing those hits start to add up for Isaiah Pacheco already. Yes, he's only in year 3. You're seeing those hits add up. So I think you need help at running back. I mean, listen, if you're leaning on Kareem Hunt at this stage in his career for meaningful carries in a playoff run, you need help at the running back position. And I don't think the Chiefs are deluding themselves in that. The offensive line. Joe Thuney bumping out, being all pro at left tackle. It's amazing. It's probably a stamp on a Hall of Fame resume, if I had to say. All you need left now is the longevity, and you're good as gold on that one, based on that one accolade, I would say. Outside of that, the offensive line, I mean, Trey Smith, give him all the credit in the world. Outside of that, offensive line was atrocious. They were bad, especially the tackles. What you really need is bump Joe Thuney back inside so you can get that 1, 2, 3 of Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney in there. Joe Thuney is the straw that stirs the drink, and then get yourself some damn tackles. That's what you need. Offensively, they need a complete makeover right now. I mean, with the exception of quarterback, they need tackles on both sides. They need help in the backfield. They need more receivers on the outside. The offense, the Brett Veach and the front office need to make a concerted attempt to really just dump assets into the offense this year. You've been skating by on awful offensive personnel outside of Patrick Mahomes for 2 straight years now. It's not sustainable, and this game showed that it was not sustainable. So that's the main takeaway I say here from the Chiefs. You need to get back to 3 years ago offense. And look, I understand Tyreek Hill is not walking through that door. At least not the Tyreek Hill that you once knew. He's not walking through that door, and I don't think he's walking through that door, period. But you have to figure out a way to get more production out of this receiving core. And I don't know if anyone's going to let you do it, but I'm just telling you now, if Tyler Warren starts falling in the draft, the Chiefs need to spend whatever draft capital that it takes to go up and get Tyler Warren. That's the guy right there. If you want to keep this whole thing going, you want to keep the magic alive, I think you need a really good tight end there to replace Travis Kelce. It is almost impossible for Tyler Warren to fill the shoes of Travis Kelce, because he is, I would say at the very worst, the third tight end of all time. Many consider him first. I'd put him right behind Gronk there at second. Point stands, though, he's a Mount Rushmore tight end at the very worst. One of the greatest of all time, probably a first ballot Hall of Famer when his name comes up eligible here. So you don't replace that guy overnight. That being said, Tyler Warren's got it, man. When you see tight ends at the college level, at the Big Ten specifically, with the defenses in that conference, and you see those guys as a focal point of a college offense, and that's what Tyler Warren was. Now, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, they were ultimately the straw that stirred the drink. But when it came to passing the ball, the passing game ran through Tyler Warren. There were no receivers on Penn State to speak of. It was the Tyler Warren show the entire way through, and he dominated with defenses skewing coverage to him and everything. He just beasted everyone that stepped in front of him. Gronk-esque, honestly. He didn't play like Travis Kelce. He played like Gronk this past year. That's the guy. If you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you spend whatever it takes to go up and get Tyler Warren in this year's draft, and you live with the fallout, because if you get Tyler Warren and Patrick Mahomes together, that's magic right there. That is absolute magic. I would say from day one, especially if he's getting a year to learn behind Travis Kelce as that number 2 tight end. That's invaluable stuff right there. That's invaluable stuff. So, not a GM, not even a front office person even, but just, hey, take it from me, spend the capital it takes, go get Tyler Warren if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so with that said, that is it for the football season here, man. What a season it was. What a season it was. I mean, the Vikings, in classic Vikings fashion, they really had me believing for quite a while. And then Week 18, wild card weekend, my hopes crumbled and decayed at a faster rate than I've seen anything crumble and decay before in my entire life. I mean, that was terrible stuff. That was terrible stuff. The Lions look like shoo-ins to go to the Super Bowl. They get just not just bitten by the injury bug. I mean, the injury bug, takes a chunk out of their torso is what it does. And ultimately, the attrition is just too much for them. They get bounced out by the Commies. How about the Commies? 12-5 in year one of the full regime change, from ownership to the coach to the GM. Full new slate of people in there. Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, you got your head coach and GM. Flip those around as far as the order that I set them in there. Duo for at least the next several years. You got the quarterback in the future with the future with Jaden Daniels, and you have got a shit ton of cap space to spend, a whole lot of draft picks. I'm excited to see where the Commies go, man. I think Adam Peters, he's cooking with something here. I think he can put together a hell of a roster, and who knows, maybe make a run at a title next year. I'm looking forward to that one for sure. I mean, AFC-wise, the Bills come up short again. The Bengals, will they ever win with Joe Burrow? No, they won't, but we'll see if they actually do. I mean, there was just so many stories. I mean, the Ravens, for God's sake. Lamar Jackson maybe should have won his 3rd MVP. Now, Josh Allen ends up winning it. We'll talk about that here in just a minute, but so much drama. Saquon Barkley. My God, Saquon Barkley had himself a day. I mean, a whole year, in fact. The best year in franchise history for the Eagles. And, of course, the Eagles cap things off with a Super Bowl. The Chiefs get the throne. They do not get the three-peat. What an absolute story this season was. And all of a sudden, I just heard a door slam. We're done with the season there, man. That's wow. That's crazy stuff. That's truly crazy stuff right there. And hey, we'll just keep it moving. Thank you all so much for sticking with me this throughout this football season. It was a wild ride, wild ride, and I can't wait to do it all over with you again, starting in late August, early September of next year. Man, I love football. But by the time this time comes around, I'm ready for a little bit of a break from football. Just a little bit. I'm ready to focus on video games and work a little bit more. Maybe even a little bit of a social life and hobbies. We'll see what happens from here. But yeah, it's all over. It's all over at this point. And with all of that said, let's get into a couple headlines here, shall we? So, starting off, oh yeah, by the way, 58-1 on the season. We were perfectly right at the Mendoza line. Lost you a little bit of money this year. I can assure you, there were picks that I did not publish that made the gambling season worse for me. Didn't lose a whole lot of money in the grand scheme of things. I still ended up in the green as far as my bank account goes. I do not have a cash flow problem, we'll just say. But at the end of the day, bad gambling season. Bad gambling season for football. We'll be better next year. It's going to be, well, I hesitate to say that. It could be worse, but I don't think it will be. I don't think it will be. I think we're going to be peeling ourselves off the mat next year and going back for round 3. Round 2? I don't know. I don't know how many rounds it's been. You just lose track of the days after a certain point. Okay. By the way, the Chiefs have trailed by double digits in all 5 Super Bowl appearances under Andy Reid. Wild stuff on that one. I did not know. So just a couple headlines here. I didn't really get a comprehensive list just because I got work to do pretty much. And I'll tell you what, that's not going to change this week. But yeah, I mean, we had a couple trade requests that popped up this season or this past week. Obviously, we talked about Myles Garrett last week. I think he's going to be a hot commodity on the trade market. Who's it? Andrew Berry followed up just today as I'm recording this, so on Monday, saying that he has no intention of trading Myles Garrett. Sure, bud. Sure. Okay. I would imagine that they're going to trade Myles Garrett at some point this offseason. That's just, we'll just say Andrew Berry saying exactly what he should say, regardless of whether he's keeping Myles Garrett or not. You give up no leverage whatsoever. You play hardball. You seem incredibly willing. I mean, just project incredible willingness to put up with an uncomfortable situation and make a very valuable player stay against his will if you don't get the right package. That's ultimately going to up whatever they end up getting in return for Myles Garrett, I would say. Or they keep Myles Garrett and they just go on. That's the leverage that they have. And not giving that up was a pragmatic move by Andrew Berry. So not surprised there. I still think they end up trading Myles Garrett at some point this offseason, regardless of what Andrew Berry says. Because that's GM talk. That's negotiation posturing right there. That you got to know what the statements in the media mean, because they're on their face utterly worthless as far as the overall messaging from the front office. You got to read a little bit deeper into it. But other headlines: Aaron Rodgers, the Jets informed him, according to a Jay Glazer report before the Super Bowl on Sunday, that the Jets were not going to retain Aaron Rodgers this offseason. So he is hitting free agency. He's not signing with the Vikings, guys. Just, it's not funny anymore. It's concerning. I do not want that man as my quarterback next year. Hell, if you're going to sign Aaron Rodgers, just franchise tag Sam Darnold. At least Sam Darnold is a likable guy. Aaron Rodgers is the fucking worst, dude. The worst. And he sucks at quarterback now. He's a statue. He can't move. His biggest asset, his mobility, his functional mobility, and his arm on the run is a shell of its former self, man. And he's a fucking locker room cancer. Every place he goes just devolves into dysfunction. I mean, maybe part of that is the Jets, but it's also Aaron Rodgers too. The dude's a fucking nut job. I don't want him on my football team. So stop saying it. Just stop saying it. The Vikings aren't doing it, and frankly, if you want to look at a team that's in the market for a quarterback right now, probably looking at the Tennessee Titans. There was that report, 3 years ago at this point, maybe 2 years ago, whenever Aaron Rodgers was first maybe looking to move away from Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers bought a plot of raw land in Nashville, Brentwood, so just outside Nashville. My Tennessee heads know exactly where I'm talking about there. Brentwood's where, you can't see this on podcast, but I'm giving the Johnny Manziel money signs there. That's where the money's at, Brentwood. Keep that in mind. That's it. The money's not living in downtown Nashville, I assure you. The money is living in the suburbs of specifically Brentwood. That being said, outside of that, though, man, we'll see. I don't see a great landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. The Titans is an option. I don't think if anyone is in their right mind on the Minnesota Vikings that the Vikings will be an option. I mean, maybe the Saints. I don't know. who's to say? They need a quarterback, but it would probably behoove them to suck for a year and eat every last ounce of cap hit that they possibly can for this upcoming season here. Just again, I've reiterated this many times for the Saints fans, but you're going to want to lean into the suck this year because you're not getting out of this cap hell until you just lean into it for a year. That being said, I got to stop saying that's a verbal crutch right there. That being said is a verbal crutch. Outside of that, yeah, I don't really see a whole lot of options for Aaron Rodgers, and I do not want him on my damn football team. Absolutely fucking not. I do not want him on my football team. We're just going to say that pretty definitively. But there's one guy that's going to be on the move this offseason. Kind of thought it was probably going to happen. Probably bigger news, actually, is that I believe that Davante Adams is kind of expected to get the stanky boot as well, which makes sense. He carries a huge cap hit, and if you don't have a proven quarterback in there, what exactly is the use of having Davante Adams there and wasting away whatever is left of his career? So he's probably on the move. It would behoove him to not make him and Rodgers a package deal. I think maybe, hey, who's to say? Maybe he goes on a little bit of a discount to the Kansas City Chiefs. All of a sudden, they have got a bona fide number one wide receiver. Maybe not quite the receiver he once was, but still a damn good wide receiver. And they're off to the races again. That's an exciting opportunity for the Kansas City Chiefs, possibly. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams, both probably not coming back for the New York Jets. Jets, another team, probably leaning into the suck. You better not screw over Aaron Glenn, you sons of bitches. I want success for Aaron Glenn. I really do. You better not screw him over. Woody Johnson, you slimy son of a bitch, keep your bratty-ass 18-year-old kid out of the equation. Just keep that little fuck out of this. And I don't care. I'll slap him across the mouth if he comes up to me, man. I don't give a damn. I don't give a hell. Also an empty threat, by the way. Don't come after me for that. But you can't be having teenagers making big time decisions in a $1 billion organization. That's amateur shit. That's amateur hour right there. That's running big business like a mom and pop shop, which you just can't do and expect to have any degree of success, especially when you're a total fucking shit show like the Woody Johnson led Jets. Outside of that though, man, we've got Deebo Samuel. He has been given permission to seek a trade, so this will be a mutual parting of ways. Deebo Samuel, they need his contract off the books so that they can pay Brock Purdy, and he's not the player he once was. And I think Deebo has been trying to get out of there, not even really low-key for the last couple of years now. So he's been given permission to seek a trade. If I had to guess, compensation on that, third rounder if you're lucky. Probably looking at like a fourth or fifth rounder for Deebo Samuel at this point in his career, and that part of that calculation is the contract that he comes with, because it's a pretty hefty cap hit when he gets on your roster. That's a move that you make if you're a piece away from making a championship run. You don't put that contract on a building franchise, because that kind of stunts your ability to build outside of that one player. So I think if nothing else, I think Deebo's probably going to a contender. Just a matter of what that package looks like when all is said and done, and he's on that new team. But I do think that both sides are motivated to move on from this situation. So I do think Deebo Samuel ends up somewhere else as well, and Brock Purdy gets paid with the 49ers. Because after the season Brock Purdy had, listen, man, you got to pay him. You simply have to pay him. There's no other crutch that you can fall back on. You're gonna have to pay the piper. Give him his $60 million chunk of the pie, because it's only going to get more expensive from here. That being said, I did it again. That is all of the headlines here. So with that in mind, let's kind of look at the NFL honors and use that as a springboard to get us into the recklessly early predictions, which I forgot to preview at the top. surprise, we're revisiting recklessly early predictions, and I'll tell you what, they're not nearly as good as last year. No spoilers, but I didn't get a single one of the awards right. Not a one. I went over on all of them. But yeah, we're just gonna go down the list here. So MVP, Josh Allen gets it. This was a toss up to me, and Josh Allen got a preponderance of the votes. I think Lamar Jackson. It wasn't just one vote that he got. I don't think. But Lamar Jackson, man, I felt like you can make an argument either which way for who was going to win the MVP, and you got to just take regular season into this. You can't include the postseason because the voters cast their vote before the postseason even happened. So you can't factor in anything that happened in the postseason here. Hey, either Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson was deserving of this. I'm perfectly fine with either or getting the award. Ultimately, the voters did the old Tom Hanks, he's white, and Josh Allen got the win. I don't fully believe that, but even if it was 1%, it was probably a little bit of a calculation there for a lot of the voters, but I digress on that front. Outside of that, Coach of the Year, shout out my boy, KOC, eating the defense up. He gets the Coach of the Year for the Vikings after a 14-3 year. Blew all expectations out of the water. I'm not holding that final 2 games against him. I'm blaming that all on Sam Darnold. You're my special boy, KOC. You can never do anything wrong in my eyes. I love you oh so much. Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Burrow. I forgot that he was eligible for Comeback Player of the Year, so hand up. That's on me. That is on me for that one. You guys are going to laugh your dicks off whenever you hear who I had for Comeback Player of the Year. I took a look at it earlier, and boy, am I an idiot. Boy, am I stupid. I'm smart. Don't get me wrong. But every once in a while, I just get a case of the stupids, and it happens more often than I'd like to admit. Really, when I just went through the recklessly early predictions, I had a full-on case of the stupids last year. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Moving on from there, though, Offensive Player of the Year, obviously Saquon Barkley. Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain. You do not often see a cornerback win this award. Usually this is a pass rusher award. Cornerback is the secondary guy. It's not altogether uncommon. But to win the Defensive Player of the Year as a cornerback, that's nothing short of impressive. And it speaks to how dominant Patrick Surtain was this year. Best corner in the league. Bar none. Best corner in the league. And that's how you win Defensive Player of the Year. Just suffocated opposing number 1 wide receivers all year. AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, obviously Jaden Daniels. Ooh, excuse me. And then AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, we had Jared Verse. Not an overly strong year for AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, but if there was anyone that deserved it, it was Jared Verse this year. So hey, good on him. And with that, let's just dive into this thing, shall we? Because this is a shit show, absolute, unabashed, just shit show. So for my awards, MVP, the actual winner, obviously that was Josh Allen. I had CJ Stroud, which, hey man, my logic was sound. Sorry for thinking that Bobby Sloak would improve a little bit in year 2 as the offensive coordinator there. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. The roster was better. They did make the playoffs again, but Bobby Sloak was fired. CJ Stroud never quite even reached what he got to last year. As far as, his ability out there, wasn't meant to be. Bad pick on that one. Defensive Player of the Year, I had TJ Watt. You know what? My head was in the right place. Okay? He was still in the mix. He's in the mix every goddamn year. So that one wasn't bad, just whiffed because Patrick Surtain had the year that he had, unfortunately. And then I think Myles Garrett actually slotted in right behind him on that. So there is that. Offensive Player of the Year, I had Kyren Williams. Again, I think my head was in the right place here. Problem is, his offensive line got exploding knee syndrome right out of the gate and didn't really start running in an efficient fashion until late in the season. Put up buku fantasy points this year. Make no mistake about it. He's part of the reason why I got so far with my fantasy team as I did this year, because he's a fucking monster. Absolute monster. Had a great year. Not nearly on the level of what Saquon Barkley did. Saquon rushed for 2,000 yards, set the all-time record for total rushing yards in regular and postseason. He was a monster. Deserved everything, every bit of that offensive player of the year. So it wasn't a terrible pick, but a blatantly wrong pick. Offensive rookie of the year, I had Caleb Williams, which, you know what? I will maintain that this was not as bad of a pick as it may have appeared. The Bears, they were awful. The offense, pretty bad. A lot of the season for the Chicago Bears, but good numbers from Caleb Williams. Man, Shane Waldron wasn't even watching film with a rookie quarterback. Wasn't showing him how to watch film, wasn't doing any film watching with him. If you believe the reports coming out of the Chicago Bears building, this kid had no shot. No shot whatsoever. If he had even an ounce of offensive coaching this past year, maybe the story's a little bit different. Most of those receivers are coming back this year, so we shall see. We shall see what we're working with there in year 2, and obviously you bring in Ben Johnson. So maybe I'm just a year early on that, but I was wrong. Obviously the number 2 pick, Jaden Daniels, won Offensive Rookie of the Year. I picked a couple Colts for these awards, and they are by far my worst picks. I mean, atrocious. This is like, I've been justifying a lot of my other picks for the awards here on the Recklessly Early Predictions. I can't even say shit about this one. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I had Leatu Latu of the Indianapolis Colts. If you heard his name once this year, you heard him one more time than I did. He got on the Indianapolis Colts and disappeared. Just nowhere to be seen the entire year. And last I checked, yup. Who's the Colts GM? Chris Ballard still has a fucking job. Incredible. Jim Irsay's out of his mind for continuing to stick with Chris Ballard in his job, and he fucking is who he is. I'm not gonna sit here and expect some radical change from a guy who has leaned into the draft as hard as you can lean into the draft and has just skated by off of one really good draft whenever he first got there, and nothing to show for it in any of the other drafts in the subsequent seasons. That's what you got in Chris Ballard, and he's a draft and develop type of GM, and does not draft good players for the most part. So what are we doing? What are we doing on that front? Leatu Latu is the latest in a long line of misses. We'll see. Maybe now that he's not in Gus Bradley's scheme because Jim Irsay decided to, I don't know, maybe let Shane Steichen hire his own goddamn offensive coordinator. What a concept. So maybe Leatu Latu does a little bit better here in year 2. But year 1, bad. Just bad. Bad stuff for the Colts. Bad stuff for the Colts defense. Bad stuff for Leatu Latu. And that hurts my heart to say. I really thought that he was going to step in and be an impact player play 1 or day 1. That is not the case, unfortunately. For Coach of the Year, I had Raheem Morris. And listen, I even prefaced it in the Recklessly Early Prediction. This was the toughest award to pick for me, just because it's such a narrative-driven award. Ultimately, KOC was the one that won it because the Vikings were ultimately so good. Raheem Morris really didn't sniff the conversation when we got down to brass taxes on that. So yeah, that was a bad pick, but that's an excusable bad pick in my mind. So it's either Leatu Latu or my comeback player of the year pick. Interestingly, both on the same team there. Those are by far my worst picks, though, man. So for comeback player of the year, I had Anthony Richardson. Yeah, that hand up. I fucked up on that one. I never believed in Anthony Richardson per se. Just I believed in his raw talent as a prospect, and I believed in Shane Steichen to coordinate an offense around the deficiencies of Anthony Richardson. Unfortunately, the deficiencies were so glaring that that just never happened. I mean, Anthony Richardson throws the ball like a quarterback in the 1940s. What maybe the most inaccurate passer in the entire league. Laser rocket of an arm. Every once in a while, he'll drop one in the bucket on a deep pass. But that'll also be in a game where he went like 8 of 22 for 144 yards or something like that. He'll just have a bunch of long completions. He's allergic to throwing anything in the short to intermediate because his accuracy is god awful in that category. And listen, I hate to say I told you so to the Colts, but I watched him in college, man. You shouldn't have drafted this guy. Really, I mean, you can quibble about where he was drafting, number 4, maybe number 5 overall, wherever the Colts were sitting in last year's draft. You just shouldn't have drafted him in general. Should have never been an Indianapolis Colt, quite frankly. Listen, you can fool yourself with raw talent all you want. Many GMs have been fired that way for decades and decades and decades just by drafting based on solely potential, nothing between the ears, justifying the deficiencies and the glaring weaknesses that you see on tape with, man, but he's a special physical prospect. We can teach him. That's hubris. That is foolhardiness. Anthony Richardson was a guy that we knew. College football heads, real ball knowers knew from day one. Anthony Richardson was going to get somebody fired. The fact that he's not gotten Chris Ballard fired yet is mind-boggling to me. And it sucks, because Anthony Richardson, he seems like a good kid. I just don't think he has what it takes between the ears. And this is not a quarterback. This is not a comment on brain capacity or anything like that, per se. I think from a leadership perspective, I mean, you saw him take himself out of a game multiple times this year. Multiple times because... And he was just saying like, hey, this is something that happens all the time. Yeah, I was just tired, man. I needed a breath, so I took myself out of the game. You're the starting fucking quarterback, dude. Unless your leg is dangling out of its socket, you don't get off snaps. You don't. You got to be seriously injured to get off snaps as the quarterback, because without the quarterback, we're fucked. It's unconscionable for him to just take himself out of the game. And the fact that he even thinks about taking himself out of the game tells me he ain't got it. He ain't got it between the ears. Doesn't have that dog in him to improve the things that he needs to improve. I think he's a good kid. I think he's a really solid guy. He just ain't got it. And some people don't. It is what it is, man. Some people don't. I'm not going to sit here and say transition to a new position because, honestly, at this point, you've been a quarterback for so long, I don't see Anthony Richardson pulling a Logan Thomas and just making the full-on switch to tight end after he was drafted in the first round to be a quarterback. The top 5 even to be a quarterback. So we can lay that to rest. I can assure you on that one. Colts got some shit to figure out, man. And I don't know why they stuck with Chris Ballard for another year, man. You just punted on 2025 is what you're telling the entire fan base at this point. I don't like anything that's going on in that Colts building right now. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing whatsoever. But that said, yeah, that's all for the awards here. Oh, buddy, I forgot some of these picks. I got some real bad picks, man. So I mean, in the AFC North, I picked the Cleveland Browns to win the AFC North. Yeah. I believe they're the number 3 pick in the draft this year. Finished dead last by a mile in the AFC North. They were the only one that wasn't in playoff contention at any point in this entire season. Yeah, I don't know. My whole thing was I expected Deshaun Watson to be at least average, and unfortunately that deal with the devil came to roost. So he sucks. The quarterback situation sucked all year for the Cleveland Browns. The defense was not nearly as good as it was last year. Hand up, I fucked up on that one. I will not make that mistake again. I assure you. I'm a man who learns. Slowly but surely, but I do learn. And yeah, we're picking the Browns to finish last from here on out. That being said, nailed the AFC South, Houston Texans. There was really only one option there. The rest of the division sucked. So yeah, Houston Texans, they win the division there. Easy peasy. AFC East, man, I really thought too much of Aaron Rodgers. I had the New York Jets winning the AFC East. Just, ew, gross. Yeah, man, I whiffed on another one. I whiffed on another one. The Jets are once again in the doghouse until they can prove to me that they have the semblance of a professional organization. Just a joke. Bad team. They finished last in this division. May God have mercy on my soul for picking them. I'm a stupid dipshit. Nailed the AFC West. Chiefs. That didn't. Listen, man. That didn't take a rocket scientist to pick the Chiefs in the AFC West. In fact, I don't even need to wait for the recklessly early predictions. I'm picking the Chiefs to win the AFC West here in 2025. So there you have it. NFC North. Good God, did I fuck this one up. I picked the Chicago Bears. Oof, my God, did I fuck this one up. That's brutal. That's a tough pill to swallow right there. Yikes. That's all I gotta say. Just, yikes. Never just assume that the Chicago Bears are going to figure it out on offense. Ever. Just ever. Especially when you got a weirdo like Matt Eberflus as your head coach. That didn't last all that long. Well, it lasted through Thanksgiving until that embarrassment happened, and you simply can't keep the head coach after that one. Yeah, fuck that one up. Obviously, the Detroit Lions won that division. They were the 1 seed. So, yeah, okay. NFC South, Atlanta Falcons did nail that one. There you go. Check on that. Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC East. I did nail that one as well. So, hey, I mean, as far as the NFC is going here, I mean, we got 2 of the 4. Problem is for that 4th one, I picked the San Francisco 49ers, who famously finished dead last in the NFC West there. The Rams, I believe. Was it the Rams? Was the Rams that won that division? Yeah, it was the Rams that won the NFC West. San Francisco 49ers, not really their fault. They just had massive attrition across the board due to injuries on both sides of the ball. Ayuk, Debo's always banged up. Christian McCaffrey missed most of the season. Nick Bosa was in and out of the lineup. Javon Hargrave's not nearly the player he once was. Age and attrition caught up to the San Francisco 49ers this year, but at the very least, you got a quarterback, and good luck. That's all I got for you. Just good luck. Good luck. So here are my playoff seeds for this past offseason that I predicted. So I had the Chiefs as the 1 seed, nailed that. Texans as the 2 seed, swing and a miss, high and outside. Browns were the 3 seed. I swung before the pitch was even thrown on that one. Jets are the 4 seed. That one, yeah. Again, I just swung and I swung backwards is what I did on that one. I swung with the momentum of the ball. I hit it towards the backstop. In fact, I didn't even hit it. I just missed on that. I had the Ravens as the 5 seed. Famously the 2 seed this past year, or 3 seed actually. I had the Bills as the 6 seed, and then I had the Colts as the 7 seed, which, not good. Not good. We got 4 of the 7, over 50% of the AFC playoff teams, at least I got the seeding a little bit off. Had 2 division champions as the 2 of the 3 wild card teams. Whoops on that. NFC, I have got I had the Eagles as the 1 seed, so close but not quite. 49ers is the 2 seed. That's a swing and a miss high and outside. Bears is the 3 seed. Again, just swung before the pitch was even thrown. Falcons is the 4 seed. I believe actually no. And also I fucked that up. The Falcons did not win the NFC South. I'm fucking stupid. The Bucks actually did. And I apologize. For getting that wrong. Had the Lions as the 5th seed. Close. Packers is the 6th seed. Vikings is the 7th seed. Now, I whiffed on the prediction that all 4 teams in the NFC North were going to get to the playoffs. I'll readily admit that. However, 3 of the 4 ain't bad. That NFC North was exactly what I thought it would be. Best division in all of football. So, hey, I'm still taking a victory lap for that. And yeah, I was right about the NFC North. If nothing else, I can hang my hat on that. I was right about the NFC North. So, for the AFC Championship, I had the Chiefs versus the Texans. And NFC Championship, I had 49ers, Lions. And Super Bowl, Chiefs versus Lions. Half ding, half I got the Chiefs if nothing else, and for the champion, I had the Kansas City Chiefs because I'm a coward and refused to pick anything different on that. All in all, much worse than last year. I was not annoyingly right about a whole lot. I whiffed on a whole bunch of them, and if there's anything that you can take away from this episode is that I am a big dumb dipshit. But yeah, that's on that note. Yeah, there you go. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. That's it. That's all, folks. We do this thing once a week every Tuesday. Tune in for a new Unqualified Analysis during the offseason. We're back to 2 whenever we get into football season. Next time around, we just got to wait, 6 short months and change, and we are going to be right back there in football season in no time. Don't worry about it. It's right around the corner, folks. All of that said, you can follow me on the socials at CalebVUA. You can shoot me a DM there or shoot an email to unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. Both of those are linked down in the description. And thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I have got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing I learned this week, and this one's coming right off the top of the dome because, hey, once again, I didn't get a new fact for you this week. I did not. But one thing I did learn this week is that when Caligula was assassinated in a plot against his life because hedonistic son of a bitch, there's a reason why there's a porno named after old boy Caligula, because dude was fucking and he was doing some shady shit. Obviously, plot for him to be assassinated. He gets assassinated. The guy that was to succeed him, Claudius, I believe, his uncle, him being Caligula, Caligula's uncle Claudius, when he found out about the assassination attempt going on, he hid himself in a closet or in some curtains and cowered behind them until a Roman centurion came in. Actually, a Praetorian guard came in. Need to get specific about that if you know your history. He came in, saw Claudius's feet, brought him out, threw him to the ground, was probably about to kill the dude, realized who he was, and then all of a sudden declared him, holy shit, it's the Emperor. And Claudius is just like that meme from The Boys. It just like whoever the fuck that evil Captain America is in that show. I don't know. Fucking Hurt Locker, whatever his name is, Killdozer. I don't know. That's the villain in that one small town with the bulldozer that just went through a bunch of businesses. I don't know. I don't know who that one meme where he's just like laughing like, okay, all right, that was Claudius when he was crowned the emperor. Inauspicious start to his reign as emperor, but one of the better emperors that they had. Not a bad emperor at all. Pragmatic, if nothing else. So yeah, there's your thing I learned this week. At least I was able to pull one out of my ass this time. Not the case for last time. I promise I'll be better going forward. Will I break that promise? High degree of likelihood on that, but hey, I promise. You're just going to have to trust me on that. You're just going to have to trust me. But yeah, enough talking. I'm going to go edit this thing, get it up for you, and probably eat dinner around, say, 9:20, 9:30. Sound good to y'all? Because it sounds adequate to me. Anyways, I will talk to y'all next Tuesday. Have yourself a good week, and hey, why not get on out this weekend? First weekend without football. Why not do something on Sunday? Huh? We'll see what happens. Until next time, though, I will talk to y'all later. See ya.